Yeah, what's up out there, everybody? Marty Schwartz here, actually. I do my own thing, Marty Music, but I am so thrilled to be here for Gibson Guitar. This live stream, by the way, thank you for hanging out, you guys. This live stream, I'm going to talk about the pentatonic scale. So this series has been called Back to Basics. And first of all, I'm very pleased to have Gibson asking me to do these. So huge shout out to them. Also playing my ES335. There's a video on my channel out there where I actually walk through the whole process of this actual guitar getting made. And then surprise, surprise, they gave it to me at the end. So this is my ES335, which is my Gibson. That's the guitar I like to go to, is the 335, because you got the rock and roll of the Les Paul, but then you've also got the F holes and a little bit of that blues jazziness. So I'm looking at you right now through YouTube and Facebook, but then I've also got Instagram, another camera over here going on Instagram. And like I said, this is Back to Basics, talking about the pentatonic scale. But by all means, I'm taking your questions. We've got Gibson is watching the comments come in, as well as I've got my good friend that helps me with my own live streams, Brian, right here, who's keeping track of the Instagram comments. So by all means, I'd love to interact with you and help you any way I can. I'm going to talk about the pentatonic scale here coming up. But by all means, let me know what you're trying to work on. You know, we're talking about lead guitar pentatonic, so that would be the preferred topic right now. But any questions, you know, I'm trying to help you guys get your guitar chops and skills going. Brian, how are you?
Doing great.
Yeah?
Excellent.
So Brian had the task of starting the Instagram live for me. Is it working?
I think it's working.
I haven't gotten any panic texts, so
no.
So I think we're doing all right. Any nice comments over there?
Oh, of course, always.
Okay, cool. Well, what I thought would be really fun, because I know there's different levels of players that are watching this, and once again, we're going to be talking about the pentatonic scale. So what I thought would be cool is that I actually play some rhythm, and you, the viewers out there, work on some of your lead guitar. Now, I know that there's multiple levels and skill out there, right? So there's the beginners and the intermediate and the shredders. So there's a lot of different things to talk about for the different skill sets. I'm going to talk about some beginner concepts first. Then I'll talk about a little more intermediate thing. So if you're a beginner and you're just trying, if you're a beginner and you're just trying to get playing, you can be overwhelmed with an entire scale to play. For instance, the pentatonic scale. I'm going to pick the key of A because it's like right in the middle of the guitar. So the basic A minor pentatonic scale, which could be played over an A blues, in other words, a blues in the key of A, or like rocking, some kind of rock in the key of A, you'd play this scale. And so on the E string, it would be 5 to 8 fret-wise. And then on the A string, it would be 5 to 7, and then 5 to 7 again, and then 5 to 7 again. And then on the B and high E, it's 5 to 8. And so you want to go up and back, right? So that's the main pentatonic. But if you're a beginner and you want to just try and make some music, a really good technique is to limit the notes. So let's look at first just one string. Okay, so any beginner can do this. The 5th fret on the D string, and then a whole step up, the 7th fret on the D string. Just starting with something like that. Sorry, I got something in my eye there. I'm going to clear out my looper, and I'm just going to play an A blues groove and show you what you can do with just one string first as a beginner. And that way you're improvising as opposed to just playing through a scale. Check it out. I'm actually going to turn my overdrive off for the rhythm. There it is, right? So I just said the 5 and the 7 on the D. Improvise with it. So you're truly improvising as opposed to worrying about the scale shape. Now let's add the, we've got the 5 on the D string, the 7, but then now the 5 on the G string as well. Now you're doing a 3-note solo, and that's all you have to work with. So you're limiting yourself, which I think enables you to think more about the rhythm and the expression and the feel than worrying about an entire shape. Brian, how are we doing over at Instagram?
We're doing great.
Any people following along?
Absolutely.
Thanks, you guys. I don't know if Instagram's looking particularly good tonight. It's because I got the new iPhone, so we'll see. I don't know. Anyway, the 3 notes would be 5, 7 on the D, but then now add 5 on the G. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. Then I'm going to work on the more intermediate thing for you, for the more intermediate players out there. Then I'm going to play rhythm, and I want everyone out there to play along with my rhythm. So as many people as possible, we can actually be jamming together. I know it's the internet, we can't hear each other, but nonetheless, we still will be jamming. And if later you want to film yourself on your phone playing along with my rhythm and tag Gibson on Instagram or any social media of you jamming along with the video, I think that would be really cool. And if you tag me, I'll share it on my Instagram. So here we go with the three notes, but I'm going to play a rhythm again. Here we go with the loop. There we go. So the 3-note improvisation. Here we go. way to forget about the complexity of a scale that you have to memorize, limit yourself, and then be creative with the limitations. And I always feel like you immediately become more musical when you're not worried so much about this entire shape and it sounds like a scale. You know what I mean? So those are just great, I think, great little tips. I've seen success with that. I have a few comments coming in from the socials here, so I want to be able to answer them. If you're just tuning in right now, we're talking about the pentatonic scale lead guitar. So if you have any questions regarding that, please chime in with it. Let me know about things that you're working on with the topic. And we've got Gibson watching the comments, and I've also got my buddy Brian watching the comments on Instagram. So I'm scrolling here. Philip from YouTube says, how do I get out of playing the same licks? Well, there's a lot of ways to build your vocabulary. The exercise I just talked about is one good one. But let's say you've been playing a while and you're just sick and tired of the same old licks over and over. There's a lot of cool resources out there to add little vibes to your vocabulary. I got one right here that I'll show you right off the bat. We'll stay in the key of A, but this is a lick that helped me a lot because when you first start soloing, you kind of ascend and descend the scale a lot. Like, it's very linear. But as you start to progress, you get little things like this, where you're rolling over onto the same fret. So there's a lick I love for that. And there's so much you can do off of it. So it's a great springboard lick. But I'm just going to show you the lick right now. Sounds like this. Classic blues style lick. We're in the key of A minor pentatonic. And that rhythm that you're going to jam to is coming up. But I want to show this lick, and then we'll hopefully jam together. So we're going to go. So 7, 5, 7 on the G string. 7, 5, 7 fret numbers. 7, 5, 7. But then we go to 5 on the B string after that. And I'm going to use this little pad part of my finger because then I'm going to roll my finger over to the other string right next to it on the same fret. What's up, Instagram? Like this. So you're doing 5 on the B rolled over to 5 on the G. And even just those two notes is a great lick. So let's see if I just did a little groove with that. Now, what's cool is, let's say you know the blues scale. And if you don't, it's not too hard to learn. I'm not going to sit and learn the blues scale right now, but let's say you knew it. It's just a minor pentatonic with a half step added. So what you can do is when you learn a little lick like this that I just did, you can climb up the pentatonic into the lick, or you can descend from the top of the pentatonic down into the lick. And I mean this. So all I did was climb up the blues scale, and when I got to the string from that lick I just showed, I did the lick, and then I went right down the scale. So what you're doing is you're developing the vocabulary by having, just your kind of programmed up and down the scale thing, and then adding little licks in there that you can extend out by knowing the scale. So really all I did other than the lick was just going up and down the blues scale right there. All right. So then the final, the thing that you want to, the like number one thing, like let's say that I forced you, like you could only practice one thing to get better at soloing. Well, you can only practice one thing for the next week, let's say. Only one thing you can practice to get better at soloing. And for me, that would be the minor pentatonic extended scale. And so what I mean by that is we'll just stay in the key of A, and my rhythm is coming up, by the way. Stay in the key of A, and there's this classic up and down the neck extension of the minor pentatonic. And I'll just say what they are. On the E string, it's 3-5, and then on the E string 3-5, on the A string 3-5, and then you slide that up a whole step to 7, and now you're in the regular pentatonic. And then you go on the D string to 5-7, and then on the G string 5-7, then you slide that up to 9. And then there's a little finger change where you have to go 8 to 10 on the B. You use your index and ring. And by the way, this is all archived on the Gibson socials. So if you want to go back and review this stuff, it's going to be there on Gibson Instagram, Gibson YouTube, Gibson Facebook. So you'll be able to review this stuff. So we're sliding from 7 to 9 on the G, and then 8 to 10 on the B, and then 8 to 10 on the high E. And then you can slide that up a whole step to 12, but then slide it back. So altogether, the exercise would be. Throwing the faces in always helps. I'm kidding, obviously, but you can't control it, right? The expression. So you have this extension scale, and that's the like number one thing that I would tell you to do. Like I said, if there was only one thing you could practice to get better at lead guitar, would be this extension. Even when you're not paying attention to what you're practicing, like you're watching a sports game or you're, watching the election news or whatever, you can sit and go. And once again, I call that the minor pentatonic extended scale. So if you wanted to like look it up and get more resources from it, you can always look that up. That also relates to that lick I showed you. If you know the extension up and down, you can use it to go in and out of little licks that you know. So I literally what I just did there was the extension up and down with, and I just threw in the lick that I showed you, right? So think about it. That was one lick and then the scale itself. What if you knew 5 licks and the scale itself? That's where the improvising starts to come in. And you might, the coolest thing is to get some accidental licks in there. Brian.
Yeah, we got a question about priorities when you're practicing this. Are they focusing on picking clean notes, speed, staying in time with the rhythm, embellishments? What should they be focusing on?
Brian, thanks for the additional questions there. Give it up for Brian, ladies and gentlemen. So those are all important topics, right? Your picking technique, your timing, your rhythm. You can actually spend time focusing on each one of those things individually, because they're all going to be important. And the more you just do it, even I really like practicing it up and down when you're not like paying attention, because you're like programming muscle memory. But I would say all of them at once and then also individually. Now, I did a live stream a while back for Gibson a couple weeks ago where I talked about bar chords and I deconstructed it. So I said, first, try it with the bar, then put the shape down. Next time, put the shape down first, then the bar, then put the whole thing down. So what you're doing is you're deconstructing and then putting it back together. And so I think that's really helpful. All right, I got a few more questions that Gibson has provided for me, quite a few actually. Dylan from YouTube says, any legato exercises for faster scales? Yes, you can take that exact same pentatonic extension and you can practice alternating. You're picking for every note like this. And Dylan from YouTube, what's up, man? Or a person, in case Dylan is female. You know, that time I did it, I worked on my alternate picking. But legato, you can hammer and slide. So like for the first two, I picked twice to get 4 notes, like that. But you can also, on that A string, with one pick, go 3-5 slide, 3-5 slide. I screwed it up on purpose there so you could hear that it. No, I'm just kidding. I messed up. So I picked twice, but I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes with 2 picks. You're always going to be able to play faster with that kind of legato technique. So that's another thing that you can do. And then the same thing with slides and pull-offs when you're going that way. Now, there's always going to be legato exercises with the 7-note scales, but this video, in case you weren't sure, is focused on pentatonic right now. So that's kind of my answer there. Helena from Facebook, what's the difference between a major and minor scale? I love that question, Helena. And what's up? Major and minor. I don't know if everyone knows this. Some people know this, but I actually used to teach elementary school music, like basic general music classes to little kids. And I talked about major and minor, and I'd use a little saying for the kids, but it always stuck with me. And that was like 15 years ago that I did that. And I say, I'm majorly happy or I'm minorly sad. And it's just, you know, one of those little things. But basically, major has a very happy sound to its tonality, whereas minor has more of a sad sound. And yeah, there's ways to plug it in, but I'll just show you. If I just play an A chord, one of the cool things about the minor pentatonic is that it's used in blues, and you can actually play it kind of over major or minor, and it sounds like rock and roll. So that's one of the cool things about the minor pentatonic. But just so you can hear the difference, I'll play an A major chord real quick. So the major sounds like this. Well, that was a little too loud. So I'll play an A major chord, but without the distortion. Here we go. Okay, so I'll play the minor pentatonic, which is what we've been doing. Doesn't sound wrong. Sounds like rock and roll, though. You know, that kind of thing. When people first hear the major pentatonic, they usually say, it sounds like the Allman Brothers, and that is true. So here's the major pentatonic over that. Minor, major. Now, if you're trying to solo over a minor chord, you can't do major over it. But the cool thing about the minor pentatonic is it kind of works over major and minor. It gives you a a bluesy rock and roll sound when you play minor pentatonic over a major progression. So that's kind of what's cool about it. But major has that real sweet sound to it, and minor sounds more sad. And it's kind of interesting how sounds can equal emotion. I think that's why music is so cool and so powerful. All right, we got Philip from YouTube. And by the way, you guys, thanks so much for watching. This topic was on the pentatonic scale and soloing. And once again, huge shout out to Gibson for having me, and also for letting me do this lesson on this awesome ES335. It's my favorite kind of guitar. I also, by the way, picked red because of Marty McFly and Back to the Future. I don't know if everyone knows that, but that's why I did it. Brian, how are we doing?
Look, doing great. People love the guitars on the wall too.
Hey, 3 nice Gibsons up there. Not bad. Oh, yeah. And by the way, I hope you guys are enjoying, the new digs here, because this is my new workspace. So it was interesting. I started constructing it before COVID, and then had to wait a while and then rebuild it. All right, we got Philip from YouTube. He says, I tend to overplay when I do phrases. They seem to sound disconnected. How do I fix that? Something that's really interesting is if you sing the notes, and I don't mean like sing in perfect key with your voice, but if you sing the notes as like you're expressing them, and it takes air from your diaphragm to create a note, like you see guitar players do it, but let's say like if you imagine that it takes air from your diaphragm to get the note, which by the way, it really does for a horn player, that requires you to have to breathe in and then breathe back out. And that's immediately going to make your phrasing better. I'm not talking about George Benson singing into a microphone. I'm just talking about internally. I gotta breathe. You know what I mean? So you'll immediately make it better that way. The other thing is, I think, running the scales up and down when you're not paying attention or not trying to solo. If that makes sense. So that's that answer. I've got a bunch of other questions here, you guys. Okay. How do you know what, Robert from Facebook says, how do you know which scale to play? Well, for this lesson, or for this stream, basically you take it, because we're going to play a blues. You take a blues, whatever key you're in. So if I played a blues in D, I'm going to go up and find my D on the E string. And then I start that progression in that spot. You would plug in the same finger as the root of the chord to the root of the scale. So if you're playing blues in D right here, you'd plug the scale in right there. If I'm playing blues in B, I plug it in right there. If I play blues in A, you would do it that way. Now, obviously, that's a much deeper topic to go down that road. If you don't know if you're asking that question, that means that the journey is beginning. So it wouldn't be a bad idea to find some mentors, whether they're in, like Marty Music, or finding a guitar teacher to help answer those questions in person. I've taken a lot of guitar lessons myself. Okay. We're about to do rhythm, everyone, together. But Daniel from YouTube says, what are modes? Modes are functions, multiple functions of the same scale. They're not really, pentatonic means 5 notes. The modes come from the major scale, which are 7-note scales. But basically, if you hear do, re, mi, it's basically taking that pool of notes. That was 7 notes, by the way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1 again, which is a root. I mean, I've heard that a million times. Maybe you have do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, da, 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 da. But basically what you're doing is you're taking that pool of notes and you're shifting what you think of as the tonal center, and it gives you different modes or sounds of that scale. That's what they are. I will say it's not as hard as it sounds when people say it, because they have fancy words like Lydian and Aeolian, Locrian, Mixolydian. They have all these fancy words, but ultimately you're playing the do, re, mi, which is the foundation of music, and you're just learning how to use it in different modes. So it's like there's 7 notes of the scale. You can think of each of those 7 notes as the tonal center, and it becomes a mode. Think of it as like a dial. It's like a mode of that same pool of notes. All right, Brian, how we doing?
Doing great.
You look pretty excited over there.
Oh,
Are you fired up?
Heck yeah.
Now Brian's going to come back tomorrow. Are you coming back tomorrow?
I believe so.
I'm doing my own live stream tomorrow, and Brian usually helps me with that. By the way, I don't know if you guys like my cup here. It's all the fish of Hawaii, just in case you were wondering. My mineral water's in there. Okay, so we're gonna play. I'm gonna play rhythm, and I want you to play lead guitar. So what that means is, if you're a beginner, like the person that asked what's modes, or I didn't answer the question, but someone said what's the pentatonic scale, right? Well, if you're one of those beginners, what I want you to do is improvise between 5 and 7 on the D string. And if you're super special, you can add 5 on the G string. You can go da 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 da. You can go da 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 da. You know, improvise it. All 3 notes are going to sound great. If you're a more experienced player and you know that extension, awesome. So jam along. And like I said, all of this will be archived. You can go back and watch any of this stream on Gibson's, Gibson's Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all that. So I'm going to play rhythm for you now, and I'm just going to have to imagine how awesome you sound. All right. So we're going to be in the key of A. Might throw a few curveballs. We'll just start with a kind of slow blues, and we'll see where it goes. I'm going to count you off. You guys ready? Brian, are you ready?
Oh.
Brian, are you plugged in?
Oh,
Good. You got your headphones in so no one else can hear you ripping? All right, just kidding. Okay, here we go. Blues in A. Let's see what you can do. Beginner, intermediate, advanced. 1, 2, here we go. So the same scale, keep playing the same scale. you might not be ready for that, but your kids are going to love it. Todd from Facebook said, what chords were you playing on that A progression? Basically, I just started with the 12-bar blues in A, and hopefully, please let me know in the comments right now, did you actually jam along? Brian, anyone over on Instagram? Let me know, you guys. Tell me you at least tried to jam with me a little bit. It will make me feel really good because, oh, they did. Yes, Gibson says they did because it is quiet. It's very quiet in this room. You gotta understand. I'm here alone. Well, I got Brian here. But he's so quiet, it's like being alone, right? But anyway, hope you guys had fun with that. Now, what would be cool is continue to leave comments, whatever you're watching, if it's Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram on Gibson, of course. Feel free to comment after the stream is done and let me know things that you'd like to see in this format in the future, right? Whatever it would be. Obviously, we're jamming on the Gibsons and we're having a good time. But the topic so far that we've worked on is back to basics, talking about the fundamentals, whether it's sports or music, whatever it is, it always comes back to the fundamentals. So please continue to let me know what kind of stuff you'd like to see that you think I can hopefully help you with. And I'll do my best to help you. So once again, this was like a soloing pentatonic lesson archived on all of Gibson, so you can see it again and again. So don't worry. And hope you guys had a fantastic time. I certainly did. Want to thank Gibson again for having me here. It's a huge honor. I've said it every stream, but I might as well say it again because it's so true. Let's say like 8th, 9th grade, I'd come home from school and immediately turn on MTV and watch guys like Slash play on their Les Paul, so epically. And to sit here now and actually be working with that same guitar company, the best guitar company, to make the best guitars, and to actually sit there and work with them, got to pinch myself sometimes. So just want to thank them again. And we've got someone here, Eddie from YouTube, said, followed along, and I even followed the chord progression, the chord changes. Well, that is awesome. And especially, during these certain times, it's obviously a lot harder, or just it's not as convenient to get together with people to jam. So why not make the most of it and have this kind of virtual thing going on? I trust that some people out there had a good time with it. I hope you did. Yeah, so we got all that. Brian, any final comments?
Rude jammed along. A lot of Brazilians.
Brazil!
E aí, Brazil. Tudo bem?
Tudo bem?
Yeah.
Tudo bem, Brazil. Funny enough, Brian is married to a Brazilian, and also one of our very close friends is Brazilian. So love you in Brazil. I've never been. Brian, you haven't been yet, huh?
No, gotta go soon.
Gotta go. So I really want to go. But anyway, let's see. What other what else is there to cover? We just want to give huge shout outs and kudos to Gibson. Feel free to keep commenting after the stream's over, because I'm gonna actually go through the comments myself on Instagram and everything else and just go through, and of course I'm gonna breeze by anything that I don't want to see, but if you guys give me the feedback on what you'd like to see in this format, because obviously there's beginners and intermediates, there's different levels and different different styles and levels of guitar players watching. So I think fundamentals is a good, it's always good to review the basics and the fundamentals of how to do this stuff. So once again, thank you, Gibson. Thank you, Brian. Brian, when we end the stream, don't touch anything else because I want to make sure it gets saved to Gibson. So we don't want to screw that up. But yeah, huge shout outs to all of you that watched. Huge shout outs to Gibson Guitar. Let's get a good headshot right there. Head stock shot. Gibson's behind me. Why not? What record do I have back there?
Bob Marley.
Yeah, I can't go wrong. Yeah. I put that one up front for you, Brian.
I love it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, thank you guys so much. Thank you to Gibson. They've been so great to work with. Keep playing. Keep the positivity. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for allowing me to do this as my job. Love it. I'm very grateful. So that's it. We'll see you guys later. Stream is over. You can end it.